Howdy, welcome back to the Magnetic Podcast with your hosts, Mac and
Natalia.
All right, it's been a little bit of a minute.
A hot minute.
Since we've done one. So
like a whole lifetime ago.
It was forever and ever ago. So we've been watching the World Cup, just like hopefully maybe many of you have been and enjoying that. And so we wanted to do a special post-game World Cup edition. So I had some questions to talk to you about since the World Cup is kind of big in our family. It's like, what is this futebol thing all about? So what does sports mean to you? First question, check.
To me, check, mic check. Sports to me means friendship, community, excitement. Well, I'm focusing also on the World Cup. Sports in general, yeah, community.
Very cool. What does it mean to your family growing up?
The same. I remember growing up in Brazil and, technically in Brazil, soccer is embedded in your DNA. Even if you come from a family who's not really into sports, there's going to be some TV or radio or podcast in the background playing some type of soccer game.
Or multiples.
Yeah, like how I grew up. So yeah, community.
Very cool.
For sure.
So I want to talk about that more, but just to give you a cultural difference. So when I grew up, there would occasionally be a Dallas Cowboys game on, there would occasionally be a Texas A&M game or USC game, because, where his dad went and my brother went to school. So sometimes we would catch those games, but it wasn't like a religion and it wasn't like something we'd do all the time. So I honestly didn't really get super into sports, I think, really until we met and we got married. And so, like in high school, I didn't play sports. Junior high, I played one season of soccer, which ironically, my coach, I ended up dating my coach's daughter later on, who was actually from Portugal. Big family, spoke Portuguese, but a lot different from Brazil. So there was some confusion with that.
When we started dating
later on, was like, hey, this is Natalia. She's from Portugal. I'm in Brazil.
Nope.
But that's funny story there. But so sports. All right, let's talk about soccer teams or football teams that you guys have followed growing up.
Flamengo,
which is what we're wearing right now, right?
Representing.
In honor of your dad.
In honor of dad. Other sports, like I remember Botafogo, Santos, Palmeiras, all these other but I remember them because of them playing against Flamengo. Like that is in Vasco, which is the rivalry of Flamengo. But yeah, Flamengo has always been the team in our house. There's Botafogo, which is the actual Botafogo, and then there's Botafogo da Paraíba, which is the Botafogo team from our state, which is mom's team. So I do remember sometimes like mom and dad, going at it because Botafogo da Paraíba was playing, or vice versa. But Flamengo has always been the team growing up.
Yeah, your dad's team.
My dad's team, yeah.
Have you and I ever been to a soccer or a football match together where the opposing teams have played?
The Flamengo and what opposing teams?
Countries.
Oh, yes. Yeah, we have. It was a women's.
Yep. There's a couple of nations, I think.
Yeah, a couple of nations. So it was Brazil, Japan, Australia, and US. Few years ago.
Yeah. And you wore a Brazil jersey and I wore
I wore, and the Brazilian girls were there and they saw us and Liberty was with us. So that was fun.
House divided, but
in love,
completely.
Yeah.
So we don't totally lose it if the other team. Well, that's the thing, because this World Cup, both our teams crashed out fairly early. Definitely the US did.
Yeah.
Which
Brazil did too, but we were not surprised.
Which, to be honest, I love the U.S. culture surrounding the game, this World Cup especially, and it being on our home turf as a co-host nation. This would have hopefully been the one for us to get further.
Sure.
To win it. I'm an optimist, but I'm also a bit of a realist. I would like to see them go farther than they did.
Love you, U.S., but...
Correct, but...
Your women's team is better.
These are facts. These are no facts.
Yep.
The same with Brazil, though. We wanted to see Brazil play better. play Jogo Bonito, as we know, but they didn't maybe play the same that we come to expect the fifth top ranked team to play.
Yeah. And I think that there's some reasons in that. I was talking to mom and dad a little while ago when the World Cup was still, in the thick of it. And I mentioned to dad, I asked dad, like, why do you think that Brazil hasn't won since, last World Cup they won was, 2002. And I believe, my theory is that those teams, those players that you think about, that Brazilian are known for, the Brazil is known for, is that there wasn't as many distractions back then. Like nowadays, there's phones, there's social media, there's, as soon as you become, slightly famous because you're a player, Adidas and Nike and, everybody wants you to, be sponsored and all of that. And so I think that there's a lot of distractions that they didn't have back then.
Sure.
But that's kind of my theory.
Yeah.
Also, our coach was from Italy, so it's like,
yeah,
interesting. Like,
did your team probably want a Brazilian coach?
I think every team wants a coach from their nation.
Yeah, well,
you have to be from your
right?
yeah, you have to be from your nation in order to play in the team,
right?
To be a player. How come that's not the same rule for the coach? Which I get it. Like, there's not always going to be a coach from your nation that's eligible or whatever the case is, but it is kind of like interesting.
Yeah. What does o jogo bonito mean in Portuguese?
The beautiful game.
So what is that? Like, for people who don't understand that concept. What makes soccer or football beautiful?
And for me, what makes football, beautiful is the how do I put it into words? Kind of like the outside of the game too, like the community within the fans, the love of, that collective culture. And when I hear that, I don't just think about the players in the field with the ball. Mm-hmm. I think about what happens outside as well, and what the game does to a household if you're into it. And if you're not into it, like, we've met so many people that have never been into it and now they are. You being one of them.
Yeah.
You had to be by default. But
I inherited.
Yeah, you inherited. But so I think that o jogo bonito, I think it comes from just the skills that you can, gain, and also what is done on the field, either by an individual player or by the entire team, and how they can come together and make, it's not such an individual team game, but for me, it's also what happens when a soccer game is actually going on.
Sure. Well, it's like you said earlier about community. I think the fan base is such a community, even in the States, even with the Major League Soccer teams. I think it's definitely growing in popularity. Oh, yeah. Even you got Austin FC now. Matthew McConaughey owns part of that. And so there's a big draw to Austin. Soccer culture now with the support fan bases and everything. So I think it does bring a lot of community. And you watch the games that are played and just see the fans just going nuts every time their team scores. It's super cool.
And I think it's brought, especially this one, and I don't know if we're going to talk about that later, but there's some data somewhere, and I don't know all the ins and outs about that, but like, this was the most watched World Cup in history. Yeah. And part of me wonders if it's because part of it was held in the U.S. and people that, don't care about soccer. I mean, there were, artists and, actors and, these people that are like, I know nothing about soccer, but yet I'm here watching a World Cup game and now I'm invested. And so, yeah.
Yeah. What's the big deal or cultural significance with football in Latin America and South America versus anywhere else in the world?
I think that football, especially in Latin America, it's a sport that you don't have to come from wealth in order to participate. I mean, you can be, driving somewhere and you see, a group of kids just playing out on the street. It's not like you have to have all the uniform and all the equipment and all the, XYZ, all the extra. You can just have literally a piece of plastic something and use it. I mean, I remember us playing, just playing out in the street in front of our house, and our goalposts were 2 Havaianas, on each. Like, you don't have to come from a lot in order to just have fun with it.
Yeah.
And I think that's the huge, the huge difference. I know people that, try to be part of a specific sport, but they can't because their parents can't afford, the uniform and, the cleats and the, XYZ.
Sure.
Whereas in Brazil, you can play soccer barefoot.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, probably not in a team, but you know what I mean?
Sure. Yeah. Cool. I heard somewhere on a news article that supposedly Trump had mentioned the possibility of renaming soccer to football. Don't know if the article's true or not, but I did read that headline. So, if he were hypothetically to then try to change the name of soccer to football, what do you think we should call American football in the U.S.?
Handball. That's what it is. Literally, the only time you kick the American football is when the kicker wants to
It's true.
Make a touchdown. That's it. That is the only time.
Handball
It is. Now, there is a sport called handball.
It's true.
However,
that being said, how many different iterations of football or soccer are there that you know of in Brazil?
Oh, man. There's futebol, there's pelada, there is handball, volleyball, there is futsal, which is an indoor, in a gym setting. When the ball's out, it hits the net. That's like the out flag, which a lot of people are like that. That's interesting. There's a lot. Those are the main ones that I can think of off the top of my head.
Yeah, all different variations.
All different variations, yeah.
Cool. What would you say to critics in the States who are big fans of our other big 5 sports that we have in the U.S.? And they say, oh, well, soccer is a low-scoring game.
Mm-hmm. They don't understand the sport.
Okay. Yeah.
They haven't really experienced
plus more for maybe 1 goal or no goals.
Yeah, but hey, there you gotta be an athlete in order to keep up with that.
You're running the entire. Unless you're Messi, and then you're.
Well, I mean, you're gonna get a lot of haters.
You can afford. You can afford
to just hang. I mean, yeah, you can walk and then towards the end, score 1 or 2 or 3 goals. So I mean, yeah, I think that they haven't, and I think the difference can also be a lot of these other big 5 sports can also be very individualized sports. For example, in my head, baseball. Yes, it's a team sport. However, the key parts of that game is an individual playing, which you can say the same about soccer. Like it takes one person to score a goal or the goalie in the moment, but it took the whole team in order to bring, true. So yeah, I think it's the difference between individualized and collective, and how you care for it and how you see it. I think it has a lot to do with experiencing an actual game in a stadium, and like actually physically feeling what that's like.
I think too, it's kind of like what you're saying. It's how hard it's fought for. Not that it's not fought hard in other sports.
Yeah.
But like when you look at how much they're running back and forth, and you look at how many passes are made, how many passes are completed, how many passes are missed, how many essential turnovers. And you see some of the set pieces or whatever, like the Argentina-Egypt game, where there was that early foul that ended up taking away that incredibly amazing Egypt goal, where they literally went from one end of the field all the way to the other. And you think about how many players were involved in executing that goal to get that ball into the net. And then to see it taken away, but like that for me is sort of the rush of the game. Okay, yeah, maybe it's a 1-0 or whatever, but like, to see all that played out, the teamwork that it took and the communication.
Yeah. I think it goes back to what the game does to people just watching it. Because, you might not be inside a field, but it can feel like you are. And I think it just brings a lot of emotions, a lot of memories, a lot of, life especially for, the Latino culture is soccer can bring a lot of emotions because that's, again, embedded in your DNA, even if you're not a sports person.
Sure. Because
I don't consider myself a, sporty, obviously, but we just grew up with it and around it constantly all the time. And that's a huge part of my childhood in Brazil and in America. And so, because, you know, mom and dad, a lot of people ask me, wow, your Brazilian accent is still very, you know, there. And I'm like, well, yeah, mom and dad, you walk into their, you know, habitat and it feels like you're in Brazil. Like they haven't let that go. And it's, you know, I'm so thankful for that. And, you know, our kids get to experience that, and it's really cool.
I read that football is a game without language barriers.
That's so good.
And I think that's also what makes the World Cup special, is because it truly is international. I mean, you're so good. Like, we're watching the game and listening to the commentary, and how many times they're like, you know, this is not like the Super Bowl. This is not like, you know, March Madness. This is not like, you know, any other type sport, where this is once every 4 years, all the countries of the world essentially are fighting for this opportunity to lift, you know, one trophy after a month and a half.
Yeah. That's so good.
And you don't need to necessarily understand English or whatever language to be able to appreciate the game or understand the game, because it is so international. It is so universal.
Yeah.
Whereas American football, let's be honest, it's not as international. Baseball, sure, it's sometimes a close second. It's somewhat international, but also there's cricket. It's not necessarily the same in other countries.
Sure.
So, but soccer and football, as such a simplistic type game as it is, it's fairly international.
Yeah, and I think that, again, I think this World Cup, you know, because of obviously it was opened up to more, you know, nations, I think it did give more of a, you know, space for other people that haven't been interested and didn't care for it to at least, you know, try to figure out, okay, who's playing today, or you know, where are we at with the World Cup, or you know, and throughout the world, it wasn't just here. Yeah, and so, I mean, we see that with Cabo Verde, like, you know, people are like, where is this even at?
Yeah.
And now people are like, oh, I know exactly where that's. I know exactly where that island is, and so yeah, that's huge. And you don't have to speak, you know, Portuguese, which is, you know, Cabo Verde's, you know, native language, or Spanish or anything like that, to understand that. I believe too that football, soccer is the one sport that brings that can bring everyone together.
I mean, that's crazy when you mention that too, because literally Iran is in the tournament. And like, let's be honest, the US and Iran are currently at war. And so, you know, just the fact that you can have two quote unquote opposing nations in the same tournament is, you know, is pretty amazing. Like, it's unfortunate that teams like Russia and things like that, or China or other teams can't play. You know, understand there's a lot of world politics and stuff that goes into all that. But I mean, to see huge rivalries that go back, you know, hundreds of years, or recently with current events, is pretty amazing to see. It does have a tendency to unite, I think, as well.
Oh yeah. Yeah, and it's cool to see, like, even in the fields, you know, people that don't understand usually think like, oh, one side, you know, like American football, one side is, you know, that team and the other side is that team. But that's not realistic in a soccer field, because you buy your ticket and, you know, wherever you sit, and you might be sitting with somebody from the complete. I know that that happens in football, but not as you try to sit with on your side of the team. Whereas soccer, you know, you might see the majority of that team sitting over there. There's going to be some splashes here and there of the opposing team, and you're still, you know, obviously rarity does happen where, you know, some fights, you know, break out and stuff like that. But you might see, you know, a Brazilian sitting next to an Argentinian, and you hope for the best.
So you mentioned Brazil v Argentina. So what is the deal with the animosity between these two nations in particular? So,
as far as I know and understand, it had something to do with a game back in the day, I think before I was born. And that's where kind of the rivalry started. But ever since I can remember
Maradona, right?
Yeah, I think. I don't know if it was Maradona and Pele. I don't know the exact, but. And that's funny, because you're like, you don't even know the actual reason, but Brazilians where it actually started. You know, if you look back in history, you know, there's a lot of data and articles that say, oh, you know, there's, you know, history-wise, there's a lot. It's not just because of the game, you know, Argentinians, you know, and the rest of, you know, the Hispanic world, Latino world don't get along, but I'm not going to go into that because I don't even know if that's even true. And maybe I'll have to do more of my homework in that. But yeah, ever since, I remember my first World Cup, which was that I recall. Obviously, it was the first one after I was born that I recall. I was 5, so it was 1994, and it was. I clearly remember. Even in our living room with our little old school TV, and I remember, anytime Argentina played, it's like, the world is going crazy because Brazil and Argentina. And you can go anywhere in the world, and if you say Brazil and Argentina, everybody knows that like they just don't get get along. It is fascinating. Now I do remember one of our neighbors in Brazil, her daughter moving to Argentina because she met an Argentinian and then they got married. And I remember us just making so much fun of her for the longest time. Like, you traitor, how dare you, and stuff like that. Obviously, he was a great guy and, her kids were born in Argentina. But at the same time, it's like, it's just a thing. It's always been a thing. And I think it's always going to be a thing. Now, I will say that this World Cup, I noticed that a lot more Latin American countries were against Argentina, which I don't remember that being a thing when I was, in my childhood. So I'm not sure where all that is coming from, but ever since I can recall, Argentina and Brazil just, Do
you think Messi is overrated?
I think the idol of Messi is overrated.
So I think that's a good answer.
Yeah. I think that Messi as a player has done a lot for the game.
Yeah, facts.
He's an incredible player.
For sure.
No, there's no denying that. But I think the idol of Messi is overrated.
Yeah. The GOAT status and everything. Yeah. Like as if there's no other player out there who can match him. Like,
Right. Which
once upon a time, maybe he was the best.
And I think he has been.
The best, but there's definitely a new generation coming up. For sure.
Yeah, and it's funny because I know a lot of kids that are like, "Oh, Messi," and it's like because he's so well known, not just in North South America, but he's well known, obviously around the world, like other players. But because there's such a like a GOAT mentality of who he is. And like these younger kids are like, that's all they know. They don't know of any other player. And it's like, of course they're going to go for Messi because he's the idol because that's all they know.
Well, even I went to Lowe's this past week and took our daughter to Lowe's and, they got that giant cardboard cutout of Messi.
Oh yeah.
Lowe's, and our daughter was like, yeah, cause Lowe's made Messi. And I'm like, no, it's not quite how it worked out. There's just a misunderstanding, because she's such a big figure. And literally, there's a cardboard cutout in Lowe's. She assumes that they're related. Where really, it's a branding thing. It's a money.
And it goes back to that. It's like he's not just well known as a player, but because he is so good, then all of everything wants to sponsor him, and so it's marketing. Yeah.
Was it Duracell or is it Energizer? He's on the batteries and stuff now.
Yeah.
So
there's like a goal that like some commercial where like all he did was kick a ball, and then that's it. Sure. And so, which I get it. Once you're there, then of course I'll kick this ball and make this. He might not even be invested in whatever that marketing or whatever that organization is, but hey, his face is up.
I will say, for opinions aside and everything, it was still sad to see him go out.
Oh yeah,
because part of you does want to see him get a back-to-back win. Part of you does want to see him have the chance to lift the trophy.
Yeah, no.
Well, it's true, but
not at all.
But just like, because you want to feel like he earned it, but like he's, he's walking off the field and like he's crying.
You feel,
it's like, dang, I feel for the guy.
I know. If you love soccer, and even if you don't love soccer, but you are invested in the sport, it sucks to see. It's like, Cabo Verde, like to me, out of all the games, that was the best game in the World Cup. Yeah. All of them. Sure, England and France was a really good one, but also, that aside, I believe that Cabo Verde and Argentina game was the game of this World Cup. And it was so sad to see them lose. And it's like, you go in kind of knowing they're probably going to get smoked.
Yeah.
but they didn't get smoked, and they fought really hard, and it was really sad to see them go at the end. But then you start to look at like, you know, the history of the team, and you know, go into like these players, you know, like a lot of their lives have completely changed because nobody knew who they were. And then for me, it's like, I'm not just sad because they lost. I'm sad because, like, you know, you kind of get to know the players, obviously, as an outsider looking in, and you kind of get to know their story. And it's like, oh, I wish they could have, you know.
Sure. Yeah, you hate to see the greats go out. You know, Ronaldo, you know, seeing him go, it's probably his last World Cup. Could be Messi's last World Cup, more likely.
Yeah.
You know, obviously that's up to them to decide. You know, Luka Modric.
Probably that was sad too. Yeah, I mean, you feel for it. I felt bad for him.
You still want your team to win at the end of the day, but like seeing one of these greats that you've kind of followed and you've watched score immaculate goals, like, man, like I can appreciate kind of being somewhat neutral in sports at times. Sure. I can appreciate a good game, and I can appreciate a good goal, a good score, regardless of who takes it.
Yeah,
I mean, I've seen goals scored against teams that I follow, and I'm like, that was a really good goal.
Yeah,
you know, you know, and it's just, you know, I'm thankful for that opportunity to just like be grateful for the fun and the excitement that it brings to the sport, regardless sometimes of who scored. Yeah, you hate to see your team go out.
Yeah.
So on that note too, like as far as modern day greats, what was it like for you watching Neymar probably go off the field for like the last time internationally? You don't care?
It's not that I don't care. It's that, I mean, it's Neymar.
Sure. Yeah.
You know, I think, you know.
Oh, he's
been, I feel like he was once, you know, great, you know.
But he's been MIA from the sport for a while due to injury. And they had a controversy in the previous World Cup for a lot of diving and the rolls and everything.
And I mean, I think that there are other players that, you know, surpass him, and that's okay.
Yeah, Vinicius Jr., let's talk about him. You know, he's doing some great stuff.
And even his controversy. But like, I mean, again, I feel like there are so many distractions now, and a lot of these players, you know, some of these players are younger than us. And, you know, it's just, I don't know. I feel like it's different now.
Yeah, no, that's fair. What's it like watching your roommates' teams play? So you have some roommates that are from a couple different countries.
Yeah.
That you went to college with.
Yep.
And so you would message back and forth and you would talk and kind of dig each other when your teams were playing. What was that experience like?
It was fun. I mean, you're so sad, you know, because Brazil left. Well, Haiti was the first one, which shout out to my girl, Milu. Haiti was the first one out of our group that left. And you feel sad, and you kind of, you know, and then Brazil was the second one, and it's like, whatever. And then you're still hopeful. There's still some hope that, you know, Colombia was the last one after Brazil. And so it was fun. We were, anytime our teams played, we were like, you know, at the edge of our seat, you know, if we were able to watch the game, you know, each nation play whenever their games were going on. But it was fun to share that with, you know, people that you care and you love. Shout out to my girl, Erica.
Yeah.
But
with Colombia, for sure.
With Colombia.
So you mentioned the favorite games that you watched in the tournament. You had mentioned Argentina and Cabo Verde, seeing Vozinha stop all those goals, seeing his his Instagram account blow up.
Oh yeah. I think just his social media account in general, but
yeah,
I mean, he surpassed like the nation of Portugal or something like that as like a social media account. And there's a saying in Portuguese that says, if you have a vozinha, you have everything, which literally translates to, oh, sorry, I said that in English. Se você tem uma vozinha, você tem tudo, which literally translates to that. If you have a vozinha, which means a grandma, you have everything. And for those that don't know, the reason why his nickname is vozinha is because he grew up with his grandparents, and his grandmother called him that, which is kind of what I do with our kids. You know, I call Liberty mamãe, and I call Victor sometimes papai, which it really is just an endearing word that one day you hope that they will become that. And so that's where that comes from. A lot of people are like, why do you call your daughter
I never understood that initially. I
know you did, and you'd get so frustrated. It was actually one of our friends that explained that on social media once because, you were like, this is so crazy. And then when Strom that explained, she's like, that's what it, that's where it comes from, with cool. with her history.
Like what you want them to become.
Like what you hope and that they will become one day,
That's cool.
So that's where that comes from.
Yeah, that's where he got his name.
Yeah, that's where he got his name.
Mm-hmm. But you just see the humility too of those guys and how well they played, and they kept going on and on and on about what a small country they are. Yep. They're like the second smallest country to compete in this World Cup.
Yep.
And blah blah blah, and then just how well they did against Argentina. So I think for me, like my top games of this World Cup were definitely Argentina versus Cabo Verde, just to see how well Cabo Verde fought. England versus Mexico, because we were cheering for England, but we're also cheering for Mexico.
I know, that was a hard one.
We got friends and coworkers from both sides.
Yeah.
But just seeing how well Mexico fought also.
Yeah.
Knowing that they're not ranked in the top 4 right now. So they're playing against a top 4 ranked team, but they played so well. And they're at their home stadium with the home fans. Yeah. So they have huge advantage. Yeah. So that was an incredibly good game to watch.
That was a good one.
Hard to see Mexico go out, of course.
Yeah.
And then Argentina versus Egypt was a great game, but also a frustrating game.
Yeah,
because the VAR and other things took away that goal, which would have been neat to see stick.
Yeah.
And then honestly, the third place match was probably one of the best ones. France versus
Which
Argentina.
is like, how come they couldn't play that a few games ago?
Yeah.
England. I'm speaking for England.
What one of the announcers had said that his son had texted him during the match was hey, Dad, how come England doesn't play against all the time?
That's so true. Yeah.
But just the high goal score is somewhat rare for a soccer game.
Yeah.
Like a 4-5, 4-6, I think is what ended up being.
Yeah.
So that was a very exciting game.
Yeah. I think that's the beauty in the Latin culture, or like in an interracial, family, is that regardless if your team falls off, there are so many other teams that you're still like rooting for. Obviously, I'm not saying that if you're not, Latino, that's not you, but that is the beauty in, having, the Latino blood, is that like, man, we have so many connections with people from all over the world. Yeah.
And from the military.
From the military. Yeah. Obviously, I was going to say that, the Mexico and England game was really hard because we lived in England and we're always going for them. But we have a ton of Mexican friends, family. And so, it's kind of like, whoever wins, we're going to be happy. But yeah.
What's it like watching a football match in England?
Oh, it was so fun. It's crazy because when we arrived there, it was 2016 and 2014 and the World Cup was going on. And so I remember us coming out of the plane and getting in that Y-fin and like going towards the base and completely jet lagged, but seeing every pub with flags out and the England flag everywhere, hanging from everywhere. So that was really cool to me because I didn't realize that the UK celebrates football like Brazil does. So it was really neat to be part of that and experience that in a different country. Yeah, it was really neat. I mean, you go in any pub and they're totally for it. And they're, all out, all the school kids, would walk, be walking with their jerseys and, a soccer ball under their arm and stuff like that. So that was really neat to experience.
Yeah, and we would go see matches at the Worlington Hall Hotel sometimes, which is a real cozy, like old, super old, like hotel, fireplace, pool table, pub, like a dark, walnut style, like wood bar. Just
like if you think of like British culture in the movies, like that place was
cool.
it.
And then we would go to the Walnut Tree, which is another good
right
spot.
Across the street.
The Bird in the Hand right outside. RF Milden Hall was a great spot. But then we went and saw a local game once in Worlington.
Unlucky.
Come on.
Oh, unlucky. So you're like, what does that mean?
Yeah, it's just, it's funny.
That was fun. Yeah, good memories.
But just the support with the local team is super fun.
Yeah, it was.
So in Europe, but then also where you grew up in Brazil, they got these things called these Panini albums.
Oh yeah.
So like, what's the deal with these things here
that you're now collecting?
That somehow I am now quasi addicted to every 4 years.
You're more addicted than I am.
Women's World Cup, guitar. What's this album about? What is this?
So it's just honestly a book of I mean, I think they came out for the kids to just be more involved with the World Cup. I'm assuming that's what it is. I might be wrong. It might just be
a collector's album.
Yeah, a collector's album.
Stickers.
And it was just fun for you to follow along each game, each match. And I remember us growing up, obviously this was more of my brother's thing. Like dad had it, for my brothers. I can't remember if we had one for the whole family or if we each had one.
Mm-hmm.
I wish we would have kept those. That would have been fun.
Yeah.
But it was just honestly a way for the kids to keep up with the World Cup. And then like it was fun trading stickers with your friends, with your neighbors, with your cousins. So yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, you collect the stickers and you put them in the album. But today, I tell you what, though, you cannot complete an album without trading online, in my opinion.
Yeah, that's what you
unless
said.
you have a community that everyone at work, school, whatever is trading these, or their kids are doing it.
Yeah.
Like some of them have 900 stickers.
Yeah.
And so
which nowadays too, like those are not cheap. And so you have to be really smart in, learning how to trade them so you're not spending $300 on a book of stickers.
So like, there's like apps and stuff that I use that I'll basically for the cost of a postage stamp, I'll trade with someone online 5 stickers, 2 stickers at a time, 10 stickers at a time, and mail it to wherever. And then they'll send me back the ones that I traded with them. So but so this was a big part of your childhood, is kind of what I understand.
Yeah. I mean, I remember us, I remember the boys trading the stickers and us, just, whatever sticker you got. Oh, I don't have this one. Oh, I have this one already. This is the 3rd time that I trade this one or, but yeah, that was a lot of fun. And you see kids, on the curb of the street, trading the stickers and, their books out open, and now they come out with these like fancy versions of like, the gold covers, Panini book and stuff like that, which I just like the simple because it's just fun that way. But
so shameless plug, this book is not finished yet.
No, it's not.
You'd like to contribute stickers to the cause.
I will put a GoFundMe page.
We finish it later. I mean,
you still haven't finished the women's
World Cup from previous. Like I'm still trading stickers with people from that, which is funny because every few years when the Women's World Cup or Men's World Cup happens, some people will keep stickers from previous years.
Yeah,
and then they're like, oh, I still have these.
Yeah, that is neat.
These.
Yeah.
So, and then the Women's World Cup is where next year?
The Women's World Cup is going to be in Brazil next year.
Which, I'm sorry, how is Brazil spelled, by the way, for us Americans?
Brazil with an S.
With an S. Okay, so yes. Brazil.
Brazil.
Okay, cool.
It sounds like Z.
So Z is the American spelling.
Z is the American. Z is not the American spelling. Z is the English spelling.
That's right.
Because there's other countries that speak English.
That's true.
But Brazil com S.
After these messages, we'll be right back.
So the last thing that we could just briefly talk about is just some of the different jerseys that we've gotten from different places we've gone to. So this one here is from...
That you've gone to.
Mostly that I've gone to, mostly, unfortunately.
Some that I've tagged along.
Not as many vacations, more work trips.
Yeah, a lot more work trips.
This is from Zambia. So on the back, I've got Lusaka from where I was at. And the year that I was there, so I had this idea at one point in time to get a jersey from every country that I go to, and then put the city, and then put the
impossible.
Yeah, the city and the date, the year on the back for the number. But it just too many countries I've traveled to, and then sometimes I'm not there super long to hunt around, try to find where's the jersey place at.
Or some you haven't been able to go out into town or anything like that for safety purposes, but
it's been cool to bring back some.
And you have some. I mean, you have your British one. You have a few from Brazil. We have the Flamengo jerseys that moment that brought us.
Which you said are original from Brazil.
Yeah, original from Brazil. Yeah, I mean, you have, obviously we have our American jerseys and, some different ones. I can't remember all of the jerseys that we have, but you have a few.
I wish we rotate through and come where every now and then.
Yeah.
So it's fun to represent the other countries and other nations.
Yeah. Yeah, we have our Washington Spirit one, which is the girls, the women's team here. And you have one from the Austin FC. And so just feel different ones. You have to get one from Cabo Verde now. Well,
I know.
Of course. With Vozinha on it. So, but yeah.
Well, cool. Well, hey, thanks for talking about the World Cup and sharing about some of the, some of the culture that comes into the game and that you brought from your childhood. We just had a had a fun time this year. I think for me, this is probably the best World Cup that I've sat through and watched.
Yeah, I think we had a lot of fun this World Cup. Obviously, having the kids be part of it and participate, and them, wanting to know who's playing today, and how are we gonna, watch the game?
Did they win? No, they scored a goal. It's not over yet.
But even that,
when
like,
you see
I remember
people run onto the field, that's when you know it's over.
But then, like, understanding the game now, and them, like, hey, that's a foul, trying to talk to the refs.
Calls every foul.
So funny.
Yeah. And to think, how come he didn't get a yellow card? That's a foul. I was like, I didn't even see that.
He should have gotten a yellow card. It was so funny. Or the coach got a yellow card. I didn't even know the coach could get a yellow card. So that was little stuff like that we're gonna be able to, remember.
And Victor plays some.
Yeah,
so he's on a little league that he's
a little league that he loves. Yeah, and he's good. He's got a good kick here and there.
He does.
But yeah, what has been the most exciting part for you, not just in this World Cup, but being embedded in the game?
In the game, for me, I think honestly, it's the relationship with your dad. I think just because like I said earlier, it's like it kind of ends up being the sport with it that there's no language barriers, and like your dad obviously speaks Portuguese. You speak 3 languages, which, by the way, your first language was
Portuguese,
but your second was
Spanish.
Yeah, third was So English. A lot of people assume that sometimes your second one was English.
Yeah, it's just
trilingual in Brazil, which of course,
or they assume I just speak Spanish and English.
Yeah, but obviously Portuguese is the national language of Brazil, which is different from the rest of South America. But so I'm learning slowly. I definitely understand more Spanish and more Portuguese than I speak, for sure. I speak very little, very small, broken Portuguese.
But you can get by.
Yeah, but just watching.
I can drop you off in Brazil and you can figure it out without your phone. Without Google Translate.
Hello, where's the bus stop? Donde está el marcador?
That's Spanish. Nope.
That's redneck Spanish. But yeah, just like being able to hang out with your dad, watch a game, and enjoy the game with him, or a movie or whatever. But being part of the culture, like I got to take your dad to go to an Austin FC game, and we had the biggest time. So I look forward to doing stuff like that with him more.
Yeah.
But just enjoying the game together with him and hanging out with him, and just that quality time has been amazing. So I think for me, culturally, I would say that, and then just the fan base, and then with the World
and mom
Cup,
feeding you.
Yes, good food. But just the World Cup too, seeing all the countries coming from all over the world, fun. And then also seeing the fans, international fans, come to the States and see the news coverage on that, and what they find funny about America or interesting about America, which is always the stereotypes.
Oh yeah,
it's like barbecue, cowboy hats, Buc-ee's,
gallon milk,
ranch dressing.
Which is funny because it's so funny because some of the things that the tourists were here, or people from outside of the U.S. that were here that were finding interesting, like we found that interesting when we first arrived in America. So just bizarre things that like now we're so used to it and Americanized that it's second nature to us. But to hear it again, it's like, oh, I do remember when seeing a gallon of milk in the store was just out of this world. But anyway,
well,
cool. This is fun.
It was fun.
Yeah, more to come on other topics.
We'll see you guys.
Hope y'all enjoy
next time.
Yep.